Good morning, I'm Ed Lingao. It is Thursday, the 13th of March, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Former President Duterte is now under the custody of the International Criminal Court, or ICC, in The Hague. His plane landed at the Rotterdam airport in the Netherlands on Wednesday evening. In a video message taken just before his landing, Duterte told his supporters not to worry.
Sinasabi ko naman sa mga pulis at military na trabaho kayo at ako ang managot. So ito na nga, for all of the whatever happened in the past, ako na yung nag-front sa ating law enforcement at military. Sinabi ko na I will protect you and I will ako ang managot sa lahat.
The former president adds that he will continue to serve the Philippines no matter what happens.
This will be a long legal proceedings. But I say to you, I will continue to serve my country and so be it. Kung ganun ang destiny ko.
The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court acknowledges that international law is often seen as weak, but asserts that former President Duterte's arrest proves otherwise. Here's the report.
Supporters of former President Rodrigo Duterte chanted his name upon his arrival at the Scheveningen prison in The Hague. This is where he will be detained while facing trial for crimes against humanity. The plane carrying former President Rodrigo Duterte landed at the Rotterdam The Hague airport before midnight on Wednesday. In a statement, the International Criminal Court said medical assistance was made available at the airport for Duterte as part of standard procedures when a suspect arrives. ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan described Duterte's arrest as an important moment for international law.
Well, the arrest of the former president of the Philippines, Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte, is an important moment. The office has been investigating the situation of the Philippines for some time in relation to the so-called war on drugs. The judges have issued that warrant and it's been executed. And in issuing the warrant, the judges have found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte has committed the crime of murder as the founder, as the head of the so-called Davao death squad, as the mayor of Davao City, and then later as the president of the Philippines between 2011 and 2019.
Khan acknowledged criticism that international law is often seen as weak, said this arrest proves otherwise.
And the fact that it's been executed is important to victims. It means a lot, I think, to victims. That's the feedback we've already received. And many say that international law is not as strong as we want, and I agree with that. But as I also repeatedly emphasize, international law is not as weak as some may think. When we come together, when we work, when we build partnerships, the rule of law can prevail, warrants can be executed.
Meanwhile, an analyst noted that this could be the first case in the ICC dealing with a situation that is not from a sort of war or election-related violence.
This is the first case, I think, that is going to deal with a situation that is not from sort of war or election-related violence. This is basically about extrajudicial killings within the so-called drug war. So I think it's also in that sense special, and of course it's the first case that relates to Asia that is leading to a trial. So in many ways it's really a first.
Attorney Gilbert Andres, a lawyer representing victims of drug-related killings in the Philippines, called Duterte's arrest the first step in the long way to justice.
Actually, our clients, the victim survivors, they're very thankful to God because they say this is really an answered prayer. They did not really expect that justice can still be served to a powerful man such as Rodrigo Duterte. So they're very thankful.
In the coming days, Duterte is expected to appear before an ICC judge for an initial appearance.
The Global Commission on Drug Policy acknowledges the arrest of former President Duterte. The GCDP urges governments worldwide to reflect on the lessons from the Philippines and reject policies that prioritize punishment over progress. It notes that drug policy reform is a matter of justice, public health, and humanity. The Commission adds that it stands firmly with those affected by extrajudicial killings and continues to promote humane, effective responses. According to the GCDP, Duterte's war on drugs led to thousands of deaths, with official reports citing over 6,200 fatalities in police operations. Senator Bato Dela Rosa breaks his silence following the arrest of former President Duterte. During an exclusive interview with News 5, Dela Rosa clarifies that he is not in hiding, but was assigned to handle the motion for certiorari at the Supreme Court. He also expressed sympathy for the former president, saying he is ready to submit to authorities.
Nahawa ko sa ating Pangulo. Sobra. This government is so oppressive. I can join the old man. Hopefully, makatulong ako doon sa kanya, maalagaan ko siya doon. If warrant is being served, is to be served, then I'm ready. I'm ready to submit myself to the authorities.
In a separate interview for Aplicante filmed on March 4, De La Rosa challenged the ICC to bring it on.
Natatakot? Bring it on. Basta ako, handa lang ako na just in case mag-issue sila ng warrant of arrest laban sa akin, laban sa amin, I am ready to challenge them before the Supreme Court.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with more stories after this break. I'm Ed Lingao. This is Morning Matters. For families of victims of extrajudicial killings, Duterte's arrest is only the beginning of a long road to justice. Mobile journalist Evan Trinque with the report.
A step closer to justice. Several groups supporting the victims of alleged extrajudicial killings during the Duterte administration attended the mass at Asia Shrine yesterday morning. For them, this marks the beginning of holding former President Rodrigo Duterte accountable for his bloody war on drugs, a campaign that allegedly led to thousands of killings. The arrest and bringing the former president to the International Criminal Court in The Hague, Netherlands, to face charges of crimes against humanity is a huge step forward. They believe that it is now time to hold responsible parties accountable and to finally deliver justice to the victims of extrajudicial killings who have been seeking it for years.
This was a victory na napaka-importanteng unang hakbang para sa mga biktima, sa mga pamilyang naulila.
For Father Robert P. Reyes, a vocal critic of Duterte's war on drugs, this is an opportunity for victims to come forward and for the former president to be held accountable. Although the process of investigating the bloody war on drugs has been slow, he is grateful that there is now progress. He also emphasized the significant contribution of those who have been vocal in opposing the war on drugs during the Duterte administration.
Hindi tumatahimik at hindi naduduro at natatakot ang mga tinatawag na tinig ng konsyensya, tinig ng moralidad.
In a phone interview, I spoke with a family who lost a loved one to the government's Hague operations. Years later, they still remember that fateful day clearly. Now, they are hopeful that their long fight for justice is finally making progress.
Kahit pa paano magkakaroon ng justice yung pagkakamatay ng asawa ko tsaka ng iba pang victim. At least, ngayon kahit pa paano nagkakaroon ng linaw.
For the families who lost loved ones, this is the only beginning of a long road to justice. But they remain determined to continue their fight. Mobile journalist Ivan Tarinque, We are One News.
And now let's talk to Father Flavi Villanueva for his reaction to former President Duterte's arrest and transfer to The Hague after years of seeking justice for victims of the drug war. Father Flavi, magandang umaga po and thank you for joining us. Father Flavi, baka naka-mute kayo.
Sorry.
There you go. For a moment, I was worried about that. Father Flavi, thank you for joining us, Father.
Long time.
Good morning po. Father Flavi, just a few hours ago, the former president was finally turned over to the ICC. They have sort of a reception committee or council there for registration with the ICC. Now, just a few years ago, I think very few people would have thought that this moment would ever happen. I mean, I remember, I remember that. Parang, what's the likelihood of this ever getting that far? And just if only for that, I can't possibly imagine what you and the families of the victims are feeling right now. Can you tell us a bit of what's going on inside you guys?
It's first, good morning, Ed, and to our televiewers. The initial feeling when I called on them without telling anything yet was sabi nung isa, Father, pakikurot mo naman ako. O kaya, mas maigi, pwede bang pakisakal mo ko sandali? Totoo ba itong nangyayaring ito? Kasi matagal tayo na sa dilim. Ngayon, para tayong unti-unting dinadala sa liwanag. At hindi ko maarok yung aking pakiramdam, pero kakaibang galak ang yumayakap sa akin.
Well, Father, I also need to ask you this. Are any of the groups or any of the families going to The Hague for the hearings? I don't. Well, perhaps as witnesses, or perhaps as participants, or perhaps to observe. I'm not sure exactly under what context. But are any of them going?
Well, to begin with, we have families under our care who have been recognized, and there are families who we have who have submitted their affidavit.
Yes, Father.
And along with this, there were also witnesses who were asked by the court to come over. So I suppose that there will be representations when the hearing commences.
So are some of them already there in The Hague?
Wala pa naman po.
Wala pa naman.
None from at least my own knowledge. And wala pa naman po.
Just a few days ago, we were talking to Parang Bert, Father Bert Alejo, and we were talking about your efforts, your combined efforts to bring key witnesses to testify on the drug war. Of course, I'm referring to Las Cañas and Mato Bato. Are you still in touch with them? I know they're not here anymore in the country, but are you still in touch with them? And would you know what's going through their minds right now? Because in the end, I can imagine, in the end, they're going to have to have a face-to-face with the man who they say was the one who gave them the orders.
I was gifted the chance to chat with them for a fraction of some minutes, and pero kalahati dun sa minutes umiiyak, nag-iiyakan kami.
Talaga?
Because of yung tuwa na sabi niya, tinood ba ini? So he himself, just like I before, could not believe what was taking place. And he's very thankful. Second, he said that they will make sure that they will keep themselves healthy for this long, arduous process that they have long been waiting for.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Pero Father, what I'm hearing is at the very minimum, baka 8 years at the very minimum, gugulong tong prosesong ito. I mean, it may be faster, it may be longer, but on the average, mukhang ganun katagal. So, people will still have to wait. The victims, the families of the victims will also still have to wait for quite a while.
It's true, but the uniqueness as the lawyers or even the investigators when they were uh, asked that how do you expect the progress of this case, they were the ones telling us that this is a very unique case in a sense that the very principal is the one admitting to
Mhm.
the killings that he himself accomplished. So parang bibihira yun, di ba? Yung iba tumatangi to death. Ito umaamin. Inaako lahat. So I think there would be some merits to the case if that would be the pronouncement of the principal.
Mhm, mhm. Father, kakambyo ko ng konti. Okay, now for years, actually for years, the families that you're taking care of, and you personally, and the priests that have also been helping, you've been effectively marginalized and at times denigrated or belittled or called names. Because of what you're doing and because of what happened to the families. That much is clear. Now that this is happening, now that the former president has been arrested, he's being painted as being the victim. I'm sure you've come across the social media pronouncements and posts where Duterte and his supporters are calling for respect for their human rights. How does that come across to you, human rights advocates, and to the families?
Actually, last night we were listening and browsing over the social media, and this was after the second inurnment of 18
Mhm.
urns at Dambana na pagkilom.
Opo.
And after the debriefing po, I asked them, how do you feel right now? Ang sabi niyang isa, no, let me recall and by verbatim quote, kadiri sila, Father. Anong klaseng konsensya kung meron pa sila? Buti
Mhm.
nga siya binasahan ng Miranda rights. Kami funeral rights.
Mhm.
Buti pa sila kinuha ang mahal sa buhay. Yung amen, walang habas na pinatay. Buti siya naka-jet plane. Yung amen, kariton, i-deliver sa amin patay.
Mhm.
So this paradox reveals that sense of playing to being a victim is so diverse, or even as I mentioned, it's a paradox. I don't think they know how it is to truly feel being a victim. My word there, Ed, would be
Opo.
apart from the dichotomy of what really happened between them and what the father did and the rest of his minions, there is this huge sense of callousness
Mhm.
that they refuse to see sin where there is and where it exists. Wala nang ganong klaseng uh, kiramdam ang pamilya ng Duterte at ang mga nagsasabi sila ay biktima ng oppression. When in truth and in fact, sila ang nagsimula ng oppression.
Mhm.
And this
Mhm.
is just a due process being granted to them. Wherein, again, this was so much deprived. The due process was deprived from the 30,000 plus victims of Duterte's oppression.
Mhm. Father, tuhugin ko lang yun. I've also come across a lot of posts of people who say that they are unapologetic for their support for the drug war. But let me explain a bit some more. Ang sinasabi po nila, at least ilan sa mga posts na ito, na during that drug war, yes, there were casualties that were unintended, pero in the end daw, their families felt safer during the former president's term or tenure. So, ganun po yung kanilang pagtitimbang, at least some of them. Actually, quite a number of them. Ganun ang kanilang pagtitimbang na, yes, we acknowledge na merong mga nasagasaan, pero sa huli, at least sa kanilang paninimbang, merong mas matimbang yung kaligtasan ng kanilang mga komunidad at pamilya. How do you what do you think about that?
I will not argue with that to that, but we're dealing with drugs in the most frightening international scale. That means the involvement of the mafia. And when this takes place, if one kills a drug pusher, they will just simply be replaced by another principal. Second, pansamantalang kapayapaan o katahimikan mayroon sa komunidad, pero ano ang epekto nung nakita ng mga bata na may dugo na dahil pinasabog ang bungo sa harap ng kanilang bahay? The people has to see beyond that so-called peace that they now or even back then experienced versus how this peace was attained. Another point is lumaganap ang enterprise ng patayan. I don't know if na-normalize na naging desensitize na okay lang pumatay.
And Father, even the language was normalized.
Precisely. So if this is the price for peace, then definitely we have to look for another alternative way to achieve a peace that truly provides the peace without bloodshed, especially coming from a state that perpetrates and oppresses people.
Father, going back to what you were saying kanina, you also mentioned kasi the word dichotomy. Ito yung pagtitingin sa mga bagay-bagay na parang this lang or that, extremes either black or white. It's either my family's safety or itumba sila. And let's see na lang who the casualties are later on. How do we move away from that kind of thinking? Kasi it was a long 6 years, and mukhang some ideas have taken root. I mean, even 3 years later, some ideas are still there. You call nga your project Paghilom, which is healing basically, and we're talking of course about healing of those who have lost family members. But how do we also heal wounds that have taken root and that have gotten deeper over the years? Psychological and social wounds?
Well, maganda yung tanong mo, Ed. Salamat. At basically, as a practicing psychospiritual person, we suggest first and foremost that we acknowledge that there is a problem. Second, I would invite ako na lang, and even perhaps the victims I journey with, saan nagmula yung sugat? Sino ang dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng sugat? And then, having identified these variables, then we could move on. However, if there is a refusal to acknowledge that the wounds were caused by this person, by this situation, I don't think it is possible to move on. So in the case of what we have now, the arrest of Duterte, and even in his admission that I will take full responsibility, ano lang ang kasalanan ko, EJK lang ang kasalanan ko. He has already pronounced his own sins, and I do not understand why people and his supporters primarily refuse to acknowledge that yun kasalanan niya. And so if this is the case, it would be quite difficult to move on and to experience that elusive feeling that we all wish for.
Father, I'm sure you've seen the video na nirelease ng dating Pangulo sa eroplano just before he landed sa Rotterdam. In fact, nasabi niya, okay lang siya, pero at the same time sabi niya na inaako niya yung in a way, parang responsibilidad dun sa mga ginawa ng mga police at mga militar sa drug war. Although he didn't mention drug war per se, pero parang yun ang implication. So in the end, what he's saying is, he does seem to be making it appear na he's defending the security forces who did this, who took part in the drug war. How do you see that kind of presentation of what is happening right now?
I congratulate him for being true to his word. Bihira naman maging totoo sa salita niya yan eh. But I believe that there is something, I would like to see where he's coming from. Perhaps there is a line of truth that when he said this, he would like to spare everybody for those who are responsible. That is the quote-unquote patay in him. Na kargo ko ito, sagot ko ito. But reality doesn't happen and should not take place that way. Dapat panagutin, kung siya yung architect, dapat panagutin din yung mga nagpanday, yung mga nagmason, yung mga nagpintura ng kagimbal-gimbal na kuweba ng Tokhang. It's good that he admitted it. And that also points to the fact na merong mga kasama. Hindi lang siya nag-iisa. Pinagtatanggol niya, pinagtatakpan niya yung mga kasama niya na pumatay. And this ought to be investigated. You know? It might sound laudable that I'll bite the bullet for you. But the issue here is that merong ginawang kasalanan, merong pinatay, may nag-utos, at merong pumatay. That is the issue here. If he takes responsibility for them, good. You will get the full force of the law. But it should not erase the responsibility and for the court to continue pursuing the other principals and operators of the killing. He might sound that he's taking on the responsibility, but it sounds like he is acting as a victim na will take on it when they oppress me. It's okay. Kargo ko kayo. It's another a picture being painted, but we should dig deep into the meaning of these words and motivations.
Father, kabyo ko ulit. Dito po sa ICC, of course, kung sakaling umabot tayo doon, possible imprisonment kung sakaling umabot tayo doon. Pero I also understand that the ICC also looks at the possibility of reparations or kahit pa paano helping the victims of the accused pick up the pieces of their lives. I'm wondering if that has already been discussed as far as the victims, the families of the victims are concerned, or that's too far off in the future already.
Parang malayo pa po yata yun, the reparation, because I think the defendant has to be proven guilty first, and the reparation has also to come from what the guilty party has as a mass, which I believe also is by the billions. So I think that will be in the later part of the case. But we would like to believe that there is something, and they should be given that reparation for all the things that we had lost. Ano? Imagine these are breadwinners
Yes,
were
Father.
targeted. Kakaiba eh. Iba talaga. Breadwinners ang pinatay. So kahit kaya yung nanay at ultimo yung lola na 76 years old, as she was telling me, would wake up or would not sleep from 9 until 3 a.m. para lang makakalakal. And kung ano yung makalakal niya, yun ang ibibigay niyang baon sa kanyang mga apo. 76 years old. That is something that is so not absurd but tragic. So there should really be a reparation for the victims at the end of the day.
Okay. Father, we wish you the best at ingat po parate and our prayers are with you. Maraming salamat, Father Flavi Villanueva, ang founder po ng Project Paghilom.
Salamat din,
Thank you,
Ed.
Father.
And
Ingat po.
buti sinabi mo yung ingat at may security issues din na nagaganap. Ano? I've had 4 security issues in the past 2 months. And sorry to just bring it out, but
Good,
there are
Father.
people tailing, there are people surveilling, and we counted at least 4 locations in different places. So thank you for the concern.
Pero Father, to that point, has there been an increase in that kind of activity since the former president was arrested and taken away? In other words, magmula nung isang araw, yan po ba'y nag-increase yung mga banta na yan?
Wala pa naman, but it only heightened last January. And the last one was a motorcycle stopping in front of me and out of the blue told me, "Hi, Father Flavi, ingat ka lagi, ha?" And when I asked, "Saan ka pupunta?" "Hindi, napadaan lang, nakita kita." And then, "Sige, ingat lang." Then he left immediately. And I go, wow. Ala ko grab delivery sana eh. Nagugutom ako ng oras na yun eh. Pero pinag-iingat na lang pala ako. But thank you for the concern and rest assured that I'll continue the safety protocols for the sake of what we're fighting for both country and the beloved poor.
Okay, Father. Maraming salamat. Ingat po at dahil mahaba-haba pang landas. Thank you, Father. Vice President Sara Duterte has arrived in the Netherlands to support her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte. The VP arrived hours after former President Duterte was brought to Scheveningen prison in The Hague. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after a short break. I'm Ed Lingao. This is Morning Matters. Malacanang Defense Interpol's arrest of former President Duterte. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the government will continue to honor its commitments with Interpol, including help in serving more possible warrants of arrest issued by the International Criminal Court. Castro maintains that decision to help in the arrest of Duterte to face trial at the ICC is completely legal.
Paano po magiging kidnapping kung may warrant of arrest? It was issued by an authority, by the court. Kapag ka po mayroon ng issuance ng anumang order from the court, we have to comply. Especially sa ating po nangyari ay through Interpol. Hindi po pwedeng kapag ka po nagsuserve ang sino mang otoridad, let's say sheriff, atin na lang po itong tatalikuran or ating sasaktan o ating susuntukin. Hindi po pwedeng ganun. Kung ano po ang nandiyan at legal po na masasabi nating order from the court, we should abide.
The House Quad Committee may hand over evidence from its investigations into Duterte's drug war if the ICC issues a subpoena. Congressman Raul Angelo Bongalon says that while the Philippines has withdrawn from the Rome Statute, government must still decide whether to cooperate with an ICC request. He notes that trials involve compulsory processes like subpoenas, which the government or committee must evaluate. While witness testimonies from the House probe are already public, the committee may provide official transcripts and evidence upon subpoena. Bongalon emphasized that despite the country's exit from the ICC in 2019, a Supreme Court ruling affirmed the Philippines' obligation to cooperate in cases covering periods before the withdrawal. And we are now joined via Zoom by Attorney Gil Anthony Aquino, Professor of International Law and Human Rights. Sir, magandang hapon po. I'm sorry, good morning. Sorry, I'm an afternoon person. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Ed.
Sir, let me start off with...
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Sir, let me start off with something that Yusek Claire Castro said yesterday that took a lot of us by surprise. Ang sabi niya kasi, once Duterte, and he's already arrived in Den Haag, once Duterte arrives, he will have to face a local Dutch court, which will then determine whether or not his arrest was legal or legitimate before he is turned over to the ICC. Now, I don't know if that really happened and if that is really part of the procedure. Is that really the case?
Okay, I think what's happening here is that the Netherlands is taking on the duties of the custodial state. Kasi, di ba may question dito sa Philippines, bakit hindi nyo siya dinala sa court when Article 59 of the Rome Statute says
yes, sir,
it has to be brought to the court? I think what is happening is since we are not a state party anymore to the Rome Statute, ang Philippines tinurn over siya sa Netherlands, and Netherlands is assuming the role of a custodial state, and therefore it's the one responsible now for doing all of that legal processes.
Okay, yeah, the custodial state. I've read that in a few parts of both the ICC website and the Rome Statute. No, sir. Well, technically, I suppose technically the former president is now under the custody, the full custody of the ICC. Meron pa bang ihahabol ang kahit sino dito sa Pilipinas, considering that he is now abroad, he's now under the custody of an international tribunal? Is there anything else that can or would be done legally to have him returned here? Of course, you have the Panelo petition. You have as well the Duterte Torreon petition before the Supreme Court.
Legally, tingin ko wala na. Kasi all of that will be moot and academic with respect to the jurisdiction of the ICC. Kasi wala namang power na ang Supreme Court or any of our courts over the ICC. So what those petitions now can be is to determine whether Duterte's rights were violated by the government authorities and whether sanctions could be made on our local authorities. Pero can they compel the ICC to do anything? No, they cannot. We don't have that power. So once that Duterte is under their custody, his options are very limited, and he's now under, really the mercy of the ICC.
Sir, but let me, sir, go back to something you said a while ago. It's still possible for the local courts to sanction or to impose sanctions over to local authorities over what transpired yesterday. Did I get that correct, sir? Kasi maaaring ibang usapin yung kung kaya pang kunin ulit ang dating Pangulo from the jurisdiction of the ICC. Maaaring ibang usapin yon doon sa maaari bang patawan o hanapan ng butas o patawan ng parusa ang anumang ginawa ng pamahalaan o ng administrasyon doon sa pag-aresto in the process of serving that arrest?
Yeah, I see. I think I have to clarify or connect what the use, no? Sanctions kasi medyo nasanay na ako sa word, but if you think about it, Tito, what can the Supreme Court do? They could say that the arrest was illegal or violative of Duterte's rights. What they could do is to say that the actions of the government was grave abuse of discretion, and therefore, say that there is such a violation of the law. But Ang ending nun, tingin ko, is that it's moot and academic. So, everything is moot and academic. It's just that we are declaring that his rights were violated, if that is so, if that is really indeed the case. So maybe sanctions was not the correct word. I apologize for that. But a finding of unlawfulness in the process of serving the warrant.
Yes, sir. Sir, but we're only talking about possibilities, no? I mean, we're only talking about legal possibilities. That is something that could, in the realm of possibilities, happen as far as the cases filed here are concerned. Pero sir, if that is the case, if that really happens, would sanctions be on the table? And what kind of sanctions? I mean, di ba the Supreme Court naman does not impose sanctions, or does it?
Well, it can impose, it can have a finding of administrative liability.
Okay.
Pwede yun. Like, so in the same way that it confirms ombudsman decisions, even RTC decisions that impose administrative sanctions, it can have that finding. However, it is very unlikely, I think, for that to happen in this case. I think the best that they could do is just a declaration of the lawfulness or unlawfulness of the arrest, whether under human rights frameworks or our local laws, let's say on extradition or RA 9851. But a finding of grave abuse of discretion, usually yun lang naman yun. There's a finding of grave abuse of discretion, and therefore we are saying that the act is illegal, and then they would say we have to reverse the act, but it's not possible in this case. So.
Well, yes, sir. Okay, that's I understand, sir. Pero sir, if we take a step back now, what happened 2 days ago, was there in any way any shortcut taken that crosses the boundaries of what is allowed by the law? Of course, I know the executive does have wide latitude in terms of determining what is in the national security and national interest, but at the same time, then of course you also have a set of laws that have to be followed and procedures that have to be followed. I bring it up, sir, because for example, I've also seen some postings raising questions about whether or not the DOJ or the executive should have filed a petition with a local court for a local court to approve the transfer of jurisdiction of the former president to an international body or a foreign state.
Actually, yes, Ed. The question of the lawfulness of the arrest and our surrender to the ICC of President Duterte actually is a live legal question, in my opinion. I think there are arguments on both sides to say that it is lawful and arguments to say that it is not. In fact, I saw I think a statement by former Associate Justice Carpio, where he entertained the possibility that the arrest was illegal. But the thing is, under international law, the issue of the arrest is different from the issue of the jurisdiction of the court. The arrest may have been illegal, but that does not necessarily affect the jurisdiction of the court. The court could just disregard any of the events that led up to the arrest that led to their taking of jurisdiction. So the ICC will probably not care about what happened before the he was or while he was being arrested, except perhaps to see whether the Netherlands complied with the duties of the custodial state. Hanggang doon lang. But what happened in the Philippines, I don't think so. So there's actually room to say that the arrest was legal in the sense that we are not bound by the Rome Statute anymore, which is ironic because that is what Duterte has been trying to say all this time, diba? There is also an angle that says it is unlawful because aside from the Rome Statute, we have our local law, RA 9851, that says you have to, if you want to extradite or surrender a person to the international court, it has to go through extradition, court processes according to extradition laws and extradition treaties. Now, what extradition laws and treaties mean is actually a big question mark because we don't have those kinds of laws for the surrender to an international court. So, in a sense, it's like there's an absence of the law, or there is a law, but the government just chose not to comply. And I think this is my personal, this is my individual assessment of the matter. I think that the BBM administration knew that there's a lot of legal question and that there's a lot of legal uncertainty. And they took advantage of that and they put Duterte on a plane as soon as possible. Because the longer he stays here, the longer those legal uncertainties will be emphasized. So put him on a plane and then let the ICC deal with him and then just deal with a blowback here. I think that's what happened. They took advantage of the legal uncertainties.
Yeah, because the legal questions might be overshadowed by political questions na.
Definitely, and popular opinions of the people. We don't know how that will affect the approval ratings of the administration, etc. I think they just wanted to avoid all of that and put him on a plane.
Sir, ano po? So the former president arrived a few hours ago dun sa Den Hague, and he was received by some sort of a reception committee for registration ng ICC. But can you run us through the process now? Of course, it's going to the pre-trial stage where judges will confirm identity, ensure he understands the charges and all that. But for Filipinos, they're not familiar with how this works eh. And Filipinos are also are more familiar with the idea na pag ikaw dinala ka sa hukuman, ang hearing once a week tapos puro delay pa yan. So how does it work with the ICC? For example, today ba maasahan natin today na I know gabi pa ngayon sa Europa, pero but later today ba will he be brought before the ICC judges, the 3 pre-trial judges? Will he undergo that procedure of verifying, confirming identity, confirming the charges, and so on down the line? And will that also happen every day? Will the hearings also be occurring every day? Again, my context here is that sa Pilipinas kasi medyo hindi ganyan kabilis yan eh. So how is it expected there?
Yes. So I think the confirmation of charges will happen as soon as possible, as soon as the court can organize themselves. The chamber can organize itself. So I think we can expect that fairly soon. Kasi in the ICC, their ethic towards the judicial process is very high. So delays of justice are taken very seriously. So I think we can expect the confirmation of charges very soon. Now, again, depending on how they organize themselves, trial can ensue.
Sir, when you say very soon, how do you define very soon? Because our definition of very soon may be different from the ICC's definition of very soon.
Okay, sorry. In the next few weeks. Sorry about that. Baka umaasa mga reporter. Nasa labas sila. Yeah, so in the next few weeks, I think we can expect that already. It's quite quickly. Is my audio okay? Sorry.
Sir, sorry, you're getting a bit choppy. It's slowed down a bit. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat your answer, sir? When you say very soon, exactly, not exactly, but more or less, how much time are we looking at for this process to start and to continue?
Okay, I think we should be on the lookout in the next few weeks. Okay, I think in the next few weeks we should be on the lookout. Because when we say the judicial process is a bit slower in the International Criminal Court or international courts, not because we are inefficient, but because there are so many moving parts. Lawyers are coming from all over the world. The evidence are so voluminous only because of that. But it is continuously working. Delays are really frowned upon. So when I say soon, it's because the process will start as soon as possible, but organizing themselves will take some time. Duterte has to get his defense counsel, right? The prosecution has to organize itself, and actually, there's a third party in the court, which are the victims' representatives. So there are 3 parties. The victims' representatives also have to organize themselves before the trial can even proceed. So there's a lot of moving parts, but it is moving as fast as it could. So so in the next few weeks, I think we will see a development already. But the trial could take a long time, probably years, for the full trial.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that clarification. Sir, for example, today mismo, well, not today, later, when day breaks in The Hague, ihaharap na kaya siya o hindi pa? Kasi sabi nga ninyo, they'll have to pull in so many moving parts and get things in order. So are we expecting something to happen today, or that is not practical and feasible?
I think that because Duterte also has to get a counsel in the Netherlands,
Opo.
counsel that is able to practice in the local court of the Netherlands unless he waives his right to counsel or just gets a public defender. No? But I think that probably not today. Probably by the today's Thursday. No, I think
today's Thursday.
Pwede by tomorrow. Yeah, baka by tomorrow they will already try to have that local proceeding in The Hague. But again, it may not be a summary proceeding actually. It could be summary. It could be not. If Duterte wants to proper evidence about the illegality of his initial arrests in the Philippines, it could actually take a few days. But it could also be quick, like summary. So we don't know, but it's possible that by tomorrow we'll see some updates, whether on the custody of the local authorities in the Netherlands or
Yes,
even
sir.
with the ICC.
Yes, sir.
But ang
Yes, sir.
tingin ko dyan, baka next week pa.
Yes, sir. Sir, when you say talking about the custody, you're referring to you're not referring to the ICC hearing yet. You're talking about the local court, the local Dutch court, talking about the custody as the custodial state. Tama ho ba?
Yes, that is my prediction. The Netherlands as a custodial state, the local proceedings.
Sir, thank you for clearing that up. Kasi of course we're all we're all unfamiliar with what's going to be happening. Sir, tuhin ko na ng konti, sir. Okay. Pre-trial stage, you have 3 pre-trial judges confirming the identity, ensure understanding of the charges, and hear the prosecution, defense, and victims, and then the judges who decide within 60 days if there is enough evidence to go to trial. So yun po yung next step ngayon. Sir, for that to happen, for the 3 judges to decide if there is enough evidence to go to trial, what kind of quantum of evidence are they looking at? What has to be proven, or what could possibly be lacking for the judges to be thrown out? Oh, I think we lost.
Hello? Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yes. So I think the grounds at this stage is reasonable grounds. So it's not yet proof beyond reasonable doubt that we
Yes,
know
sir.
of. No? Parang ano yan eh. Parang isipin nyo probable cause
Probable cause.
bansa natin.
Opo.
A certain level lower than something similar. So reasonable grounds to believe, so reasonable evidence. Something lower than proof beyond reasonable doubt. So similar to our system here where we have like in the preliminary investigation, we have
Yes, sir.
determination of
Parang PI.
probable cause. Similar to like a reasonable grounds to believe.
So para pong PI, I'm relating it to our cases here, parang PI,
Yes.
preliminary investigation ng piskal.
That's the best. Yes. Oh, that's the best siguro that we can make the analogy na parang parang preliminary investigation, parang nag-decide sila, enough ba to para sa korte? Pero pagdating kasi sa Pilipinas, probable cause, meaning did she probably do it or not? Dito, is it reasonable to believe that she did it or not? Parang ganun. So medyo similar, diba? So we can imagine it like that.
Okay, sir. And then it moves, kung makapasa po dyan, it moves to the 4th stage, the trial mismo, the trial stage, where, and this, I understand, sir, tell me if I'm getting this right, the quantum of evidence necessary is beyond reasonable doubt, guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Sir, let me just ask about that one, kasi for example, how easy or difficult is it to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt cases where the accused is not the one who pulled the trigger? Kasi of course you're talking about leaders of governments eh. Alam mo yun, hindi sila yung gunman mismo. So how easy or difficult is it to prove something like that beyond reasonable doubt, that kind of guilt?
Okay, so it's very difficult, but not in that sense, because the Rome Statute it was really created for situations like this. Na
Yes,
hindi yung accused, yung bumunot ng baril. Because it's really meant for these leaders. Leaders
Yes, sir.
who may not have done it physically but ordered. So ang tanong is that, did this person order or orchestrate this whole thing? Yan ang ipoprove nila. So ngayon, yung for example, yung instances of murder, instances of rape, instances of torture, they will not go through it like as detailed na whether or not the elements of torture in each individual case was proven.
Yes, sir.
Hindi, the quantum of evidence is whether, number one, this person ordered such events to happen, and number two, whether yung element na importante sa crimes against humanity, which is widespread or systematic killing, ay siya yung nag-orchestrate. So yun yung mga elements na mahalaga para sa ICC. Because yung individual crimes, for example, the victims of course narrate instances of murder, instances of torture, the court will not necessarily go, it will go to a certain extent to determine, how truthful or how reliable these accounts are of the witnesses and the victims. But once it establishes that there is a probability that such individual crimes happen, ang mahalaga sa ICC, yung overall design ng polisiya, in this case, war on drugs and DDS back in the day, no? Ano yung policy na fulfilled by yung elements in relation to the design of the policy, that he designed it, he ordered it, that it is widespread or systematic against civilians. So yun yung mas importante para sa ICC.
Okay. Well, Attorney Hill Anthony Aquino, sir, I'll have to leave it there. I understand baka malobat na ho kayo. But we really appreciate po the time you spent with us, because for us, it's basically ICC 101. And we really appreciate, sir, your time. You're taking the time to enlighten us about this.
Even for me, napaaral.
Maraming salamat po, Attorney Hill Anthony Aquino. Thank you for joining us this morning. And that's today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.